Welcome to our community conversation today with Louisville Pride, part of our Digital Pride initiative. Today, we're going to be talking to Jeremy McFarland and Heather Green about making and donating PPE, personal protective equipment, and how the community is stepping up to meet those needs. This is part of several initiatives that Louisville Pride is doing. Our work is to bring communities together through collaboration, empowerment, and celebration. And our work has changed a little bit in these times, but it hasn't stopped. So we are doing these community conversations Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. on Facebook Live, and we share them on our website later, louisvillepride.com. And we're starting a weekly virtual drag show tomorrow, Friday at 8, again on Facebook Live, brought to you by the United Auto Workers Local 862. And I think if anybody had told me that in 2020, an auto workers union would be sponsoring a virtual drag show, I would have had a lot to look forward to. That would make this year sound a lot cooler than it's been so far. So we're doing that along with the Fairness Campaign. We're also working to coordinate resources and volunteers and information related to the LGBT community and COVID-19. You can find out more about that on our website, louisvillepride.com/COVID-19. I think I got all of my intro stuff out, and that should have bought time for people to actually notice that we're on here. So wanted to just kind of have you all introduce yourselves quickly, briefly, or take as long as you want, really. You don't have to be that quick. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Jeremy, do you want to go first?
My name is Jeremy McFarland. I'm the office manager at the Fairness Campaign, and I also started the Andy Bashir meme group, Andy Bashir Memes for Social Distancing Teams, which kind of rolled into starting maskmatchky.com, which is a website to help facilitate people donating PPE.
We have two viral superstars on here today. It's really, I hadn't realized that when we put this together. And Heather, who are you?
I'm Heather Green. I run Bombshell Boutique Custom Designs and Alterations here in Middletown, making wedding gowns. During this pandemic, I'm making face masks and sending them to people in need.
Did either one of you know what PPE stood for a month ago?
Absolutely not.
So we've all learned some new terms. So Jeremy, you were talking about talk. I'm sure most people have probably seen the meme group, but talk a little bit about that and then how that kind of turned into or spawned Mask Match KY.
Yeah. So I started the meme group just kind of on a whim after seeing a couple of Andy Bashir memes that I liked and wanting to create more because I just, everything's really stressful right now, and I really appreciate it, as obviously a lot of people are appreciating Governor Bashir's leadership during all of this. So I started a meme group, and it blew up and became a viral thing. We now have over 225,000 members, and that was all really fun and exciting. And it's been a great distraction from everything, but I wanted to come up with a way to do something useful with it. And then a friend of mine and co-chair of Fairness Campaign, Dr. Ryan Combs, who's a public health professor at University of Louisville, reached out with a really awesome idea of how we could get involved and do something that, within the spirit of the meme group, being nonpartisan and positive, how we can do something useful. And his idea was to help facilitate the donation of PPE to healthcare facilities. So we looked at some projects that were going on in other cities, like the Seattle Mask Brigade and other mask brigades, and kind of came up with our own adaptation of that sort of took the middleman out, so that instead of basically focusing on where PPE is needed, so that if individuals happen to have their own PPE that they were commercially developed PPE that they could donate, or like salons and tattoo parlors or other non-life sustaining businesses that typically would use different pieces of PPE, like masks and gloves and things like that, they would be able to easily find the nearest healthcare facility that's looking for materials, and would also know exactly what those places were looking for and how to donate it. So we started maskmatchky.com, and create a form so that healthcare facilities could fill it out and just basically identify what they needed and how they prefer to have that dropped off to them.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned this a little bit. What are the specific types of PPE that they're looking for?
We have several different. Let me pull up the list for you really quick because I'll be a little bit more efficient than me trying to think of them all.
And I'm going to put the website in the comments right now.
Yeah, that would be great. So the PPE that we specifically like healthcare facilities can opt into or say that they're seeking are disposable gloves, disposable face masks, N95 respirator face masks, disposable head covers and caps, disposable gowns, powered air purifying respirators or PAPRs, face shields / goggles, coveralls and scrubs, shoe covers, disinfection wipes and liquids, general purpose hand cleansers, and we recently added an additional question to our form specifically asking healthcare facilities if they are accepting handmade PPE, such as like masks and face shields that people are producing, like what Heather's doing and some other groups. Just because we were seeing a lot of interest in that, and also because the state government has since come out with their own website, which is giveppe.ky.gov, that is hoping to kind of identify commercially made PPE. But yeah, we just wanted to, we initially thought about taking our site down after that, but after some conversations about the utility of still keeping our site, it seemed like at the very least being able to identify places that are accepting handmade PPE for all these groups that are producing it. That seemed like a helpful thing that we could still do.
And if people have these items at their home or their workplace, so they should go to the website and fill out the form. How does the process work?
Yeah, if you happen to have PPE, let's say you have 3 N95 masks because you collected them at the beginning of all of this and you thought you might not use them, but have since decided that you would rather give them to the people who really need them right now, which is our healthcare workers. So you would go onto the website and you would go to tab Donate in Kentucky. And if you go to that page, it has all of the cities that have currently been submitted information, or we currently have facilities that have submitted information. And you can find right there, let's say you live in Louisville, like I do, or I guess we are, this is Louisville Pride Foundation. There's probably a lot of people from Louisville. So let's say you have 3 N95 masks, you go to the website, you find Louisville, and then you have a list of, I think Louisville has about almost 10 different facilities that have submitted their information. And you can find the one that's closest to you that is accepting N95 masks. And you can see if they're accepting open packages. If they are, then you can look at the instructions. So then you would just follow the instructions that are laid out right there of how to donate them, which might be call a certain person or just, you know, leave it in the lobby or something. Like they have specific instructions of how you deliver it. And it just kind of takes the middleman out of having to burden the people who are working in healthcare facilities from having to also coordinate all these donations, is the hope of it.
But it's also, you all are not, there's not a clearinghouse where everybody's taking it and people are distributing it and we're, you know, adding anything in that sense. It's the donors getting it directly to the facility, or are there other drop-off locations?
It's specifically to the healthcare facilities, and then there are a couple of people who gave their information who are like traveling radiographers and things like that, and so they would provide like their address or just their contact information, and then you would get in touch with them like personally to figure out a plan. For the government website, if you go to giveppe.ky.gov, that would be if you happen to be, for example, like a tattoo artist who has a lot of the gloves that the healthcare facilities are seeking. On that website, you would specify what you have exactly, and then you would be able to donate to some of the pre-identified donation like spots, mostly police stations and some other like government buildings. So if you have like maybe a bulk, that might be a better option to go to giveppe.ky.gov. But if you just have a couple of things, or for whatever reason would rather give directly to the, if you felt uncomfortable with the process that they have on the state website, I would say that maskmatchky.com would probably be a good option, or if you're producing handmade PPE.
And do you have any sense of how many pieces have been donated or how many people have used the website?
That is like a downside of it, is that we've had great response from healthcare facilities. We currently have 54 different healthcare facilities that are coming from 34 different cities in Kentucky and a couple of places in southern Indiana. So we've gotten like a lot of feedback from different healthcare facilities, but because it's mostly like a resource of where to donate it, and we've kind of removed a middleman from the process, we don't have a way of knowing how many people have gone through and actually donated stuff there. I have seen people in like the meme group who've responded to it, who seem to have, you know, actually used the website to donate things, but I don't have any kind of like number for it.
But the need is certainly still there and is not going to go away anytime soon, which is part of the reason people are having trouble. There's a definite shortage of the commercially made, industrially made masks, which is why people are making them at home and in their boutiques. Heather, so you have made like what, 4 masks now? 4 or 5 or 6?
On that, it's like they're, you know, we're over 2,000 masks at this point.
Over 2,000. Wow. So how did you get started on that? Where did you see that was a need, and then how did you know how to do it?
Immediately when people, you know, obviously we all got told to stay at home to be safe. And my business is actually run out of my home, little known facts. So I still had all of my sewing supplies and everything. And, you know, there was a need. I mean, everybody was talking about running out of this protective equipment. One of my friends that I'd actually met through LPF reached out to me and asked if I was making masks. And I was just like, as of right now, yes. What do you need? You know, because what she said is that they were having to rewear their PPO, but that they were allowed to put a cotton mask over top of it in order to extend the life of it. So they were able to switch out the cotton mask in between patients and continue wearing their own mask. And so we, you know, my family kind of sat down, cut them out. I made a pattern and we stitched them together, and they picked them up the next day. And then from there, you know, I posted them like, oh, look, you can do this at home. Neat. You know, who knew? And then a lot of people started asking me for more masks. So we've been doing it ever since.
And we'll do at least a little bit of a demo here in a minute. But if people have a sewing machine, which, you know, I don't, I'm not a sewer, so this is not going to be my field. But I do have a mask that my mom made, which is excellent. I should have brought it up to wear during this, but I keep it in my car so that if I go anywhere, I've got it. How did you know, is it simple to learn? Is it easy to figure out how to do?
It is. I mean, when people learn to sew, normally you sew a pillowcase, which is 2 rectangles essentially being put together with an opening. It's the same thing as a mask. It starts out as a sewn together rectangle that gets pleated and elastic or ties get added to it. So it is probably the most basic type of sewing that there is, with the easiest fabrics.
And you said you've made over 2,000?
Yes.
And you've been sending them off to different places?
Yes, we've sent them to nursing homes, emergency rooms, individuals who need them, who are immunocompromised, grocery store workers, police officers. I mean, you name it. If it's still people out there working, we've sent them to them. A lot have gone to New York out of a need.
Because the recommendation is that everybody should be wearing these, and it's not, if you're a healthcare worker, a cloth mask is not going to make a big difference. But if I'm going out for my weekly shopping trip and I wear it, it's going to reduce this likelihood that I'll be spreading anything if I'm a carrier and I'm asymptomatic. I'll study that word for next time. And then it also, you know, it makes it less likely that you're going to be touching your face, which we've all discovered is one of our favorite hobbies.
Yes. I made a mask making tutorial at a request of another friend when this all got started. And the video starts off with me touching my nose like 3 times. I mean, And I'm straight up just like, I have an itch. I'm sorry. I have to touch my face.
What's what somebody pointed out, like, all my favorite activities are apparently going on non-essential shopping trips and touching my face. That's pretty much most of my day. Tracy Meyer has a question in the comments here. And this is kind of what we were getting into. Heather, how are you getting masks distributed? I'm part of a Facebook group of seamstresses sewing masks and other PPE and trying to get masks out to Kentucky. I'm aware of 2 groups in need, Hospice Louisville and Kentucky Social Workers. Can we coordinate?
I'd be happy to. She can PM me on Facebook. I have actually already donated lots to them, probably about 100 each, but I'd be happy to do more. I am personally just taking in orders. I'm not prioritizing any more than if I get an order from a healthcare worker, obviously that one is going to go to the top of my list. But if somebody says I'm a truck driver and I've got to get my goods from point A to point B in order to put them in your grocery store, and somebody else says I'm a daycare worker, helping people on the front lines, I have no way of judging who's more important than the other one. So I just kind of go through my list, and we are pretty much caught up on it. I am in a few different mask making groups, and when I get huge orders, especially nursing homes, I got orders for about 700 masks all at the same time from nursing homes. So I posted those on there to ask, some of the other people to help just by sending masks that they had made as well. So yeah, the easiest way to get in touch with me is just to PM me. Probably a friend of mine. That's a good way to get in touch with me.
I'll be sure to tag you all both in this, in this post when we're done. So if somebody wants to help, if somebody can knock out 10 or 20 or 100, should they be looking for one of these groups? Should they look on Mask Match Kentucky for a place that needs them? What's the best way to coordinate that?
It sounds like Mask Match Kentucky is a great resource. I didn't realize that they were accepting the homemade masks. My dog is really serious about social distancing.
Does your dog have a comment to add?
Charlie expects everybody to put their humans on leashes if they take them out, and also to help find little treats near gardens and sewers. Just to help with the food shortage. There's literally somebody at the front door. Amazon. It's disgusting. I'm trying to quit. My face.
I'll ask Jeremy a question or two for a second.
Yeah. I was going to say, Mask Match Kentucky, I think that might be a good resource for people or groups that are producing it and don't know where to take it, their homemade PPE. Because we are now, if you go on to our Donate in Kentucky, find your city, and it'll say under we have Hospice Health is actually one of the ones that are on our list, and it'll say, yes, they are accepting handmade PPE just right there on the page. And we also have another tab for where we'd like to add more, but we only have a couple right now, but different groups on Facebook that are making handmade PPE. So if you know of more groups, please feel free to message me those, and I will add those links to those on the website as well.
I'll do that.
And Jeremy, do you think you all will add, and this might be something that would be too complicated, but some of the folks like Heather was saying, like the childcare workers and people, is there a way that we can add that on Mask Match that folks who are not in businesses that are not in healthcare can put those requests in, or?
Yeah, that's something that, I totally agree. They're really important and they really need that support as well. I'm not sure, I'd have to talk to some of the other people who are working on the project with me about how we want to structure that, because when we produced it, the idea was specifically getting it to healthcare workers, but I'm not opposed to the idea, but I definitely want to talk to the other people who are involved in the website at this point before I made some kind of decision on that. But definitely, absolutely agree that those individuals need access to PPE as well.
This whole situation has really been, people have stepped up and responded, and then the situation keeps changing, and, things are, I don't know if things are stabilizing a little bit now. Everybody kind of knows a little bit what's going on, but it seems like the needs are going to continue to change as we are going through. So things that might have a purpose that makes since in one place, for a week or two may have a different purpose as they go forward. One of the things that I've been talking to people about, and it's a big concern, is mental health and kind of keeping your spirits up, in this weird time we're all in. So I'm just curious for both of you all, what are you doing to keep yourself? You both look presentable, so you managed to get out of bed. That's a win. So what are you doing to keep your proof that you're wearing pants? That's good. What are you doing that's keeping you in good spirits, and is this work part of it? And Heather, we'll go to you first.
Yes, this work is definitely part of it. I don't want to minimize the stress in making masks for all of the people out there that are making them. It's long work, it's boring work. I don't enjoy it. But I have 8 friends who have passed away from the virus. And, I've sent masks to their families. I've sent masks to their children. And for me, it's a small thing that I can do to kind of help feel like I'm putting as much good out into the world as possible, hoping that, whoever's wearing the mask is sharing good with other people. Because I think that right now, this virus doesn't know any boundaries at all. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight or black or white or man, woman, age, nothing matters. So I think that, these masks are just one thing that's going to tie us all together. Eventually I think that people will have to wear them just to go out. We're already seeing that in New York. And eventually we're all going to be visibly equal again, just because we all have to have the same protection. We all have to take steps to protect each other. So it does help. I also go out and ride my motorcycle around to deliver them in a need to be badass. So, that's kind of, I get some wind therapy and get out of the house, but it's easy to social distance on a motorcycle. So that's it's kind of a match made in heaven.
What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think it came mostly out of the fact that we accidentally created this viral meme group, and it felt selfish to not try to do something decent with it, something a little like, not to underplay the importance of having like a positive, hopeful space for people online, especially a place that people can connect when we're being forced to be so distant right now. But it felt like we needed to do something a little bit more like useful, I guess, with the platform that we'd created. And so I think that was really helpful in kind of the goal of starting maskmatchky.com. But I think also just keeping some kind of semblance of a schedule and having projects like that going kind of forces you to have some kind of schedule. So between the meme group and maskmatchky, I know that I have these things that are still going on in addition to, of course, like looking at fairness and the things that working from home for that. But also the COVID-19 task force that we've been doing with LPF and fairness, and having just having things that create schedule. And for me personally, I've kept time for I studied Chinese in college, and so now I'm home all the time and I have time to I can do tutoring, take classes and stuff like that to keep up with that. Just trying to create a schedule for myself in this time when things are really out there. And I can't pretend that it's not the most important thing in my life right now, that I'm playing the new Animal Crossing game, which that has probably that's done a lot for me. It's been out since the 20th and I've got almost 200 hours on it. So, so I can't pretend that I'm not doing it. Yeah.
It's good. It's good to be honest.
Yeah.
So Heather, can you? I think we've got time. If you can walk us through an entire mask here. Tracy says the meme group is the bright spot in Kentucky's day, and I 100% agree. That was like 5,000 people, and then 10,000, and then it just like went to 200,000, and then it stopped. Now it's
yeah, we kind of leveled off now, which is kind of a relief in its own way.
All right, are you ready? Okay, so You start with 2 pieces of cotton. I'm using a flannel and just a regular cotton. And we are using the quilter's cotton, so it's a tighter weave. You can't, see through it very well with light. Now, if you're making them to cover PPE, then I use 2 pieces of the cotton because the N95 masks are already hard enough to breathe through. So we don't want to add too much more resistance. These do give a little bit of resistance. So starting, now this is a modified tutorial because I found that if you're making them in bulk, it's easier not to put the elastic in while you're stitching it and just add it on the outside. It also allows for the elastic to be replaced because that's the first part to break down. So we're going to stitch around the outside, starting with a back stitch. So you stitch to the corner, drop your needle down, stitch across, turn it again. It's loud, it's an industrial. And then stitch back to the same side. Now we're going to leave an opening about 2 inches. My children turn these for me and they can tell you that sometimes I sew like I'm on withdrawal, and I don't leave a very big opening. But then we're going to clip the corners. And just make sure that you don't clip your stitching. And then find your opening, and we're going to flip it right side out. The light's very good. I actually don't sew in a dungeon. It's pretty well lit in here. So once you get it to this point and it's turned right side out, you're going to iron it shut, iron it flat. And then you want to just make sure that this opening right here is ironed together and flat so that you can fold it into the pleated mask. Bam. Oh, look at that, it's ironed. And the fabric changed. Okay, so then we want to pleat it. So we get 3 pleats and they all go up. So if your fabric has a direction, maybe pay attention to that, otherwise it doesn't really matter. You can use clips or pins. I've been using clips because the pins were really starting to make my fingers bruise. So you put 1 pleat in the middle, 1 on the top half, and 1 on the bottom. Looks like that. And then we're going to stitch the elastic on. I've pre-cut elastic to, I started out with 6 or 7 inches. It kind of depends on how big your face is, how big the elastic you need is. I will say these are not made to be comfortable. They hurt the back of your ear. If it's comfortable to wear, you're wearing it too loose. So, God bless the workers in healthcare. So you're going to put your elastic right at the corner. I'm not sure you can really see that. Do you want to hold this up? So I've just placed it underneath the corner. And we're going to stitch over that a few times, back, pulling my clips off as I go. Get to the bottom, put your other end of elastic. And again, stitch over it a few times. We want to make sure that's anchored down. Stitch across the bottom. Put another piece of elastic in, stitch over it. When you get to the end, we're going to hook the other piece of elastic around. Just back across the top and anchor it by stitching backwards. Now, I'm not tall enough. I'll put you back over here. And now you've got your mask made. It fits. Ta-da. Yeah, and you can, of course, we iron it afterwards. My iron is set at a really high degree because it's an industrial iron, but it helps to sterilize them. So during the process, we iron the fabric. Well, we wash the fabric first, then we iron it, which helps to sterilize it again. Then we cut it out, then we sew it together, then we iron it, then we stitch it, and then we iron it with steam. So by the time it's packaged and sent out, it should be ready to wear. Of course, they can be washed and worn again.
And people should wash them every time they go out, probably, right?
Yep. Yeah. You know, I have heard that you can re-sterilize them using a steam iron if you're in a hurry. You always, I mean, they are double-sided, but that's just so that you know which side goes towards your face. They're not reversible. So if I wore this side out, that is always the side that I want to put out. I'm not on my detergent to get the COVID off of it. I mean, I know that it does, but we always want
And you know, one thing you mentioned that they're not comfortable on your ears, and I've seen pictures of like a holder, like a little plastic holder that people can make on 3D printers. And there's other, and of course, I mean, I'm sure everyone watching has a 3D printer that they can start churning out, but that's something that people can make ventilators and all sorts of equipment on 3D printers if they have those. Just to put that out there.
I have a friend in Cleveland who has a 3D printer. He does theater, so he makes all sorts of magnificent things for theater with it. But now he's making PPO. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us today, but he actually had a delivery. But he is, you know, he's printing masks that have a little hole in. It kind of looks like this Darth Vader thing. It's way cooler than umbrellas. But you can just cut this little piece of an air filter that you would use in your home and put it in the hole, and then that filter can be changed out. And of course the mask can be washed, you know, with soap and water. And then he's also making the face shields that a lot of the healthcare workers are needing as well. Right now, the hardest part is supplies for everybody.
Right. Which, yeah, and that's what we're running into everywhere. Jeremy, I'm not sure if you can share your screen, but I wanted to see if you can show us Mask Match. I think if I make you the host, you might be able to.
Did it work?
Oh, there it is.
Cool.
Okay, I think that's going to work, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, this is our website. It's just Mask Match. The website up here is different, but we actually bought a domain, so you can just go to maskmatchky.com. This is the homepage. We have at the very top the information about the state's website, which is giveppe.ky.gov. So definitely also check that out if you do have a lot of PPE that you want to donate. This is a little quick glimpse of at their form. You can see it's a lot more specific and detailed because these are the different locations where you can do drop-offs for the state. But this is our website, and this is basically just an explanation of what we are, and then we have little links here. This is the form that healthcare providers and facilities fill out where they identify what their needs are. It's kind of the difference between what our site and what our form has versus giveppe.ky.gov. And we just ask people what they need, instructions for how to drop it off. Are they accepting handmade masks and other PPE? Are open packages acceptable? A not public contact name and a not public phone number. There's a different spot for the public information they want us to give. But this is where, so you go from here to donate in Kentucky, or just this link. And you can see all of the different cities that have submitted their information. We currently have 34 cities in Kentucky, and we have and then Southern Indiana also, so 35 total places, and total of 54 different facilities between Kentucky and Southern Indiana. And so we'll just use Louisville as the example because we do have a lot from Louisville. We actually, I think, have the full Baptist Health network now. They submitted all their locations and their needs. So you can see, we were talking about Hospice Health before. Yeah, so we have their address, where we got the information from, because we also got a couple of different healthcare facilities from some other websites where they had submitted their information there, and we just included it on our site as well. So they have the name of the agency, where we got the information, their address, contact information for whoever they would need to be in touch with if they need to get in contact with someone there about donating stuff, instructions for how to donate. So Hospice Health had some good thorough instructions about where to drop it off, which entrance to leave it at, and then a list of what they are accepting. and if they are accepting open packages or not. And we recently added the handmade masks. So I sent out a mass email to all the different people who had already submitted their information to ask them for clarification, and we updated our form. So some of them don't have that on there. If we have an answer from one of those facilities, then we will have it on there that yes, handmade masks are okay, or they're not accepting handmade masks. If it doesn't say, then we don't have that information from them yet. Like Hospitals Health is a good example. We didn't hear back from them that they are accepting handmade masks, but if it seems like they are accepting them, so I might reach back out to get that confirmation from them. But then we also have other resources, which includes out-of-state initiatives for some other places, like the Seattle Mass Brigade and some other cities, and then some national initiatives that are happening. And these are just several other national websites doing similar things. And then we have this is all that we have for handmade masks, groups that are creating handmade masks. So I would love to add more. If anyone if you have a link that I can share, or if anyone else who is watching this wants to send me information about groups that are producing handmade PPE, I need to update this page because we were not, initially we were exclusively focusing on commercially produced PPE. So I'll need to update this, I guess. I didn't see it before. But yeah, we want to list places that are producing it as well. So if someone comes to the page wanting to find out more about how to produce handmade PPE, they know where they can get information. Yeah, so that is our website. And we also have an explanation of what PPE is.
Awesome. Well, thank you both very much for joining me today, and thank you all for everything you're doing. This is hopefully a once in a lifetime situation. Certainly is not like anything any of us have ever experienced before. And, there's so many examples of people who are not doing what they need to be doing that it's really encouraging and, uplifting to hear about and talk about people who are doing the right thing, coming together and helping and being a part of Team Kentucky and all of that. So thank you both. I hope that you will join us tomorrow night for Digital Pride at 8 o'clock. And then we'll be back with more community conversations next Tuesday and Thursday. Next Tuesday, we're planning to talk about what's going on with court systems. Courts are closed for a couple weeks in Kentucky at least. So I believe we're going to have a judge on to kind of talk about what that means. And then hopefully on Thursday, we'll be talking with Black Lives Matter about mutual aid that they're working on and doing in the community. So if you have any suggestions for topics or anything you want to hear about, let me know. If you have resources you'd like us to share, we'll get a lot of this up on our page as well. You can send me a note and we'll get that up at louisvillepride.com/COVID-19. Thanks very much, everybody, and have a good day and wash your hands.
Thank you.
All right, and remember how to turn it off. Jeremy, you have to turn it off.
Oh, okay.